Beautiful.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning. We're all so anxious to see him.
I know. We've got a whole 5 minutes.
Oh, yes. I did connect around 10 minutes ago.
Liz, did you get the cat to take the medicine?
Yeah, kind of. We had a little bit of a fight this morning, and I think I got about 2/3 of it into him.
Okay. Uh,
I'm going to ask the vet if there's a pill because when I was looking at the medications, it showed a pill, and I don't know if it's a pill that he can chew like a treat or something I'd have to force down his throat.
oh,
So if
uh,
I have to force it down his throat, I might as well just force the liquid down his throat.
right.
But I'll find out. I would rather give him a treat. But he's here. He was yelling at me.
Aw. Hmm.
And the one place he likes to run and hide is by Dara's bed. He thinks he's safe there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why he thinks that. I think, he trusts her.
So when she's there, he he
He's
hangs around her?
he
Or
does. He hangs around her. He will let her clip his nails, whereas
uh,
he doesn't like it when I do it. So, and she
he
too is,
thinks she's her cat.
yes, she knows it's her little brother, and that's how she treats
I
him.
see. Okay. I'm sure. I'm sure. Uh,
She's
well,
also stronger than me, which makes a difference.
yeah.
Because when a 23-pound cat is trying to fight with you and you're my age, the cat's going to win.
Aw,
But if you're Dara's age, you may win.
I see. So might makes right.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, he can whip his head around like you wouldn't believe.
I do believe.
He's very funny. And then I feel bad because I think, I'm hurting him or I'm making him upset.
Right. I told you I did. Craig and Mickey are coming tomorrow.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I can't believe Mickey's going to show up.
She called
Oh,
and she said, "We've been hemming and hawing and we want to know if we're still able to come to Betsy." So I don't know why they hem and haw, but okay.
and Betsy has always got more than enough food.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I told Betsy I wasn't sure about them, and she said, "Well, why don't we just assume they're coming? And if I have food left over, I have lots of, places to bring it."
There you go. I was going to bring candy, and then I decided to bring wine instead.
I like it. Yeah, because the little ones won't be there. So,
Right.
right. Yeah.
And I get an email from Graders, the ice cream place.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they now have candy. And I was trying to check if the candy is hechshered because I know the ice cream is. And if the thing said you need to check because a couple of them may not be kosher.
And you
So
can check online. You can,
no, that I would have to check that in person.
oh.
Look at the
Hello,
box and
Rabbi.
see if there's a
Yellow.
hector on it.
How are
Good
you?
morning, Rabbi Karsh.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Very well.
Baruch Hashem, well.
Is that Leo? Look at that.
Yes, Rabbi, it's me. How are you?
Excellent.
Nice to see you.
And very nice to hear your voice, Leo.
How is
Very
the
nice.
family? Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Big
Very good to see you.
Oh, there you are.
hug.
Very, very nice. I miss you.
Me too, a lot.
Okay.
How do you prefer, with camera or no camera?
Whatever I'm very happy to see you, but it's up to you. I don't know. Everybody's comfortable with something different.
Okay.
But oh. Yeah, it's nice to see you. Okay, here we go.
I already got the mezuzas, Rabbi.
Oh, very nice.
Yes, both. I buy it in the store at north of the synagogue. How is the name?
The store near the synagogue?
Well, it's not near. It's like 20 minutes north, but it's where everyone goes, right?
Oh, Rosenblum's?
That one, yes.
Near EJ's, that one, Rosenblum's?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
in
Yeah, it's next, it's in that little strip mall.
yes.
Yeah, like on, yeah. Okay, cool.
in Skokie.
Yeah, in Skokie. Okay, so we have been looking at negative commandments that they are essentially emotions. Either the person who's actually doing the act is motivated by a certain emotion, or there's an emotional response to something that happened to a person. So, for instance, hatred. You're not allowed to hate another person in your heart. And then the next one was you cannot embarrass somebody else. So one is an emotion I'm experiencing that's motivating me to hurt somebody else. The other one is I've done something to somebody else and they're having an emotional response. And then we have vengeance or taking revenge, which is connected to the next one, which is going to be bearing a grudge. So again, these are they are mostly in that chapter 19 of Vayikra, near the love your neighbors yourself thing. Okay, and so you you might wonder how I am meant to manage my emotions. How am I meant to control my emotions to the point where I don't feel things like jealousy or hatred, or that I feel something like love, like we had in the positive commandments. Um, so there's different approaches. One is that we're not really talking about the emotion itself. We're talking about acting as if you are experiencing that emotion. So this is something that we've had this conversation many times, Lois, David, and I, about the mitzvah of loving your neighbor as yourself. So the the question is asked, how is it possible? It's not possible to love somebody else like yourself. That's just too much to ask of another person. And so the explanation typically given is that this doesn't ultimately mean, it's not an ultimately a measure of what you're feeling. It's a way of characterizing your behavior, that your behavior is the behavior that would be exhibited by somebody who loved another person as much as they love themselves. So, for instance, let's say you have a Secret Service agent. So, a Secret Service agent will step in front of a bullet that is meant for the person that they're protecting. Now, that would, if you saw that in anybody else's behavior, like a parent doing that in front of a child, you would characterize that as an expression of their love, that that they love this person even more than themselves, perhaps, like a parent. And that's why they would rather put themselves at risk of dying than their children. So they would step in front of a bullet in order to protect their child, or a husband might step in front of a bullet to protect his wife. These would be, we would characterize those as indications that this person loved the other person more than they love themselves, perhaps. Um, but when the Secret Service guy's doing it, he's not doing it out of love. He's doing it because that's his job. It's his responsibility. So one way of approaching this is, of course, you don't want to be feeling these things, but you may not be able to control your feelings. Certainly, you may be working on it. You want to get better at it, but we don't expect you to be already like that elevated a human being, that realized a human being, that you never feel jealousy, you never bear a grudge, that you never feel hatred, or you only feel love. We don't expect somebody to have achieved that. So but perhaps what we are measuring is is not the actual extent of their emotional involvement, but their behavior. Would you say that that behavior is consistent with somebody who loves the other person as much as themselves? Or is it consistent with the behavior of somebody who's trying to take revenge? Somebody may say, as was said by several characters in the Godfather movies, especially Godfather Part Two, this is business. It's not personal. That's what they say, but then when they actually attack other people, it really looks like it's personal and not business. So And the thing is, we might say it doesn't really matter. What matters to us is that you're acting like a person who is uh, feeling this way. And ultimately, that's all we care about. And it's sort of interesting because when we talk about God, let's say the Rambam emphasizes this. When we talk about God loving us, or God hating our enemies, or God being jealous, or um, uh, so when we talk about God in that sense, the Rambam cautions us, we're not talking about God's inner experience. We have no clue as to God's inner experience. What we're doing is characterizing his interaction with us. This interaction is what we would expect of somebody who loves us. So therefore, if he behaves that way, we characterize it as God loving us. This is the behavior. This is these actions are what we would expect from somebody who is hates us. So we would characterize him emotionally as if he hates us, but we're not. Again, we recognize that we are not capable of, and it doesn't make sense that God would experience in his inner life these emotions. And we're not capable of understanding anything about God's inner life. We can only characterize their actions, the way they interact with us. So it's sort of interesting that in some ways this is what we're saying about people, that we're when we say when we talk about loving or hating or feeling jealousy or bearing a grudge, that what we mean is they are acting like somebody who feels these things. Now, that doesn't mean that when let's say the Torah would say, "Don't be jealous of another person." That doesn't mean that the Torah really doesn't mean that you should work on jealousy. I think we assume that the Torah does want us to work on jealousy and not being jealous. But it's not reasonable for the Torah to expect that people, human beings, certainly in the beginning of when we're interacting with Torah, would already be masters at things like this, which typically, in order to be a master of it, you would have to be one of the great human beings of the generation. If you're somebody who doesn't, no matter what happens, doesn't feel jealousy or anger and is only feeling love consistently, if you're somebody like that, then you're one of the few right, most righteous people of the generation. This is not, it can't be that the Torah requires that you be at that level. We're wherever we are, and then the expectation is that we're going to work on being better, on getting better. So if that's the case, that we're all perhaps in different places along when we talk about a scale of anger, we might find ourselves in different places, and a lot of it has to do with where we started and the work that we're putting in. So ultimately, it has to be that I'm not being judged on the particular place I find myself on the scale of anger, but rather that my behavior should not reflect, should not be the same as somebody who is angry at another person.
Right.
Yeah.
The psychology mentioned that this is mentioning as an emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And
That's
many
a
studies prove that many people do not need highest level of education to be successful, but need highest level of emotional intelligence or management in order to achieve high goals or high levels of goals.
right. So which which I think is very close to this. But again, remembering that, let's say let's say there was a way to measure your emotional intelligence, like an IQ test where there's an actual number. Like let's say somebody scores a 120 on their EQ, their emotional quotient. So the thing is that even there, what I would say is the Torah is not asking that everybody, or requiring that everybody score above a 120 on an EQ test, but rather is expecting us to just be working on ourselves, and because we don't start at the same place. This is just, we see this from experience, that different people are starting from different places when it comes to all of our various characteristics. All we can be asked to do is to work and get better at it, but you can't there can't be a demand in the Torah that all of us have some kind of emotional, that we score a certain amount on an emotional intelligence examination. So that's why I'm saying this. In other words, that obviously when the Torah talks about these things, there is a level where it's talking about the emotion and it wants us to work on that. But when it comes to legal responsibility, then it has to be that it's not talking about a legal responsibility to get a certain score on an emotional intelligence test, but rather the legal responsibility is, how am I behaving? Am I behaving like somebody who is jealous? Am I behaving like somebody who is angry? Like if I am, that I can be held responsible for. So like somebody might say, it's normal to feel anger, but you do not have to act from that anger. That's your choice. It's normal to feel jealous in this situation. But if you act on that jealousy, then you're going to be held responsible for it. And in a certain way, this might even be related to that discussion about hate crimes. There are people who are sort of on different sides of the argument about whether or not there should be a classification of crimes called hate crimes. So, in other words, are we going to make this person liable to a different degree if their action was represented some kind of racism or hatred towards a class of people or a group of people? If that's the case, we're going to ratchet up the punishment. We're going to make it even worse. So there's some people who say that 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 this is first of all, should be unenforceable, because how do I prove that a particular person did this because they hate the other person? So if you're the attorney, if you're the prosecutor and you're trying to prove that it's a hate crime, you're going to show evidence from other places that this person displayed hatred. So you might find posts on social media where this person made comments or liked comments that represent a position that seems like hatred. So if I can demonstrate from other sources that this person already has an established pattern of hatred, and then I show this act is consistent with that pattern, then I can charge him with a hate crime, right? But other people will say, how do you? We don't know what goes on inside the hearts of other people, and the actions are they, even if I could prove it, even if I could prove that this person hated it, there's another argument, which is why should that change the severity of the particular act? But mostly it was this other argument I'm interested in, which is how do we really know what goes on in the hearts of other people? So over there also, the other side is maybe arguing that ultimately I don't have to prove that while the person was doing it, they were feeling hatred. All I have to prove is that they acted like somebody who hates another group when they're carrying this out, and they have acted that way in other places. But ultimately, I cannot prove that somebody was feeling one thing or another. We don't know what lurks, as it says in the introduction to the old time radio show, The Shadow. The actual quote was, "Who knows what lurks in the heart of men? Pause. The shadow knows." But so I don't know. I think this could be sort of interesting to bring in that whole hate crime discussion into this discussion about what we'll call the emotional mitzvahs and emotional prohibitions. Here, the actual this is, I think, the most similar to what we would call a hate crime, because this person is taking revenge. And the way they characterize it is that he prohibited that some of us not take revenge upon some of us, and that is that a deed was done and the person, you did not stop seeking him out until you repay him according to his evil deed. So this is how do we know that this is revenge? Because this person has kind of persistently gone after this other person with intent to give to them what they did to you. And that is all we need to see in order to determine that what they've done is taken revenge. Like if I harm the other guy and I cause damage, of course I'm going to pay for the damage. It doesn't matter what my emotional experience is when I'm doing it. If I broke somebody's window, I have to pay for the window. Whatever I was thinking. I could be loving them and I broke their window. I still have to pay for the window. That's like the basic math of damages. I cause harm. I have to repair it. I have to make the person whole. Why does it matter what my emotional experience is when I'm causing it? Somehow this takes it to another level. I'm already causing them harm, and that already I should be held responsible for. But no, now I'm causing them harm in a way that demonstrates that I'm taking revenge. And that seems to take it to another level. But even there, I can't prove what you are feeling. All I can say is that you acted in the manner of somebody who's taking revenge. And in this case, it would mean you pursued them here, you pursued them there, you pursued them here, you pursued them there, and you didn't stop pursuing him until you did to him what he had done to you. Once that happened, you stopped pursuing him. So I can say that you acted like a person who's taking revenge. But that's all I can prove, and that's all witnesses can prove. That you acted like somebody who's taking revenge. They can't ultimately prove what you're feeling. Even if you told them what you're feeling, they can't prove that's what you're feeling. A lot of us are not completely in touch with why we're doing certain things, what our motivation is. There are many people who end up via therapy finding out that there was something else going on completely when this behavior was exhibited. They had no clue, at least on the conscious level, on the superficial level, they had no clue that this is what was motivating them. But then, through therapy, they come to conclude that this is such and such was going on. So even if the guy was telling me why they're doing something, or telling him what he's feeling or he's not feeling, I didn't even know there for sure that this is actually true. I only know the way he's characterizing it. So that's why it has to be in all these cases that what we're talking about is that this person is acting as if that's what they're feeling. And ultimately, that's all we can hold them accountable for. And this could work in both directions. It could work when we're talking about loving another person. Like there are certain circumstances which we call a fulfillment of the mitzvah of Yahavta l'reacha kamocha. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. There are certain times when people do certain things, and we call that a fulfillment of that mitzvah. Again, we're just interpreting action. We're not saying we ultimately know what's going on underneath. Let's say I behaved consistently as like somebody who loved his neighbor as he loves himself. Does that mean that's for sure my experience on the inside? Not necessarily. I could have a kind of discipline where I've chosen to act in a certain way, even though I'm not feeling it. And there are other people that are doing this. There are spies that are pretending to have feelings for somebody else, or are to like somebody else or to love somebody else, or they're whatever, they're taking on a false persona in order to cement their identity, whatever identity they're presenting to the other people. And there are spies that can do it consistently. They're just, based on what I read, I don't actually know any spy. I know some people who I'm pretty sure they are spies, and I've actually, there's one guy in particular who I'm convinced works for the Mossad, and whenever we're together, I always joke about him being part of the Mossad. He's never denied it. He's never denied that he works with them. But anyways, there's another example of people that are acting as if they are experiencing something, but they aren't deeply experiencing it. I just heard, it must be Richard Gere who I was listening to. I didn't hear who was being interviewed, but it was early. It was, I think, this morning on NPR. There's this show called On Being, and Krista Tippett is the moderator. I think I was listening to that because obviously I turned on the radio. It's in the middle of the conversation, but I think I was listening to On Being, and Krista Tippett is talking to Richard Gere because he was talking about how he became introduced to the Dalai Lama, etc. So I might be wrong. I'm just taking this for a second. It's my wife. I'm just going to take it for a second.
Go ahead. Take your time.
Sure. All right. Okay. So the Dalai Lama was asking him, whoever it was he was talking to was an actor. So the Dalai Lama was asking him about when, as an actor, when he has to show emotion. So, like let's say he's supposed to be in love. That's his part in the movie. He has to be in love, or he has to be angry, or he has to be jealous. So he asked him, like, when you're doing that, is that what you're feeling? And whoever it was, maybe it's Richard Gere, was saying, yeah, during the moment, I'm feeling it, because you have to feel it. Otherwise doesn't come across as authentic if you're not feeling it. So you have to find a way to be feeling love in that moment. You have to find a way to be feeling rage in that moment in order for it to be experienced as authentic if in your particular role. So he was talking to him, the Dalai Lama was saying, see, that is what it always is with emotion. Like he was saying, even when you're feeling the emotion, that's what's happening. There is no, the emotion itself is a choice. He was suggesting. And it's not, there is no, ultimately, when it comes to the emotion, there is no truth that's underneath the emotion, that's behind the emotion, that's at the origin of the emotion. There's not a truth there. It's just a choice that we choose to express something like this, or we choose to express something like that. But there's no ultimate truth. It when it comes to the actual origin of that emotion, there isn't. It's not. It doesn't. It's not coming out of a truth. Whenever you have an emotion, he wanted to suggest something like that. So, anyways, that is probably too much about that.
I hear a teaching about when we are business guys and we are going to do a business with someone do not follow like Jewish or have no are
Yeah.
going for say it in some point.
Yeah.
The teaching was the you invite him to drink wine because it take out the shot, the secret,
Yeah.
and when you order the food, order in pairs, everything in pair. So if the person takes more than should take, knowing that it's two or three or four people, everything has to be exactly the same
Yeah.
as a quantity for each one.
Yeah.
So you can tell how gonna be in business.
Oh, interesting.
And if
Interesting.
it's something
Whether he can follow through it and do it
uh
like he's supposed to do it, you mean? How he
exactly.
whether he chooses to do
So
it
for
that way.
example, it's three chicken fingers and it's three people and he takes two, it's an egoist person. So you can see under his action how he think.
Oh,
So
interesting.
you knows the person gonna be same with money. If it's 3,000, he gonna
Right.
take two and gonna give only 1,000 for the other ones.
Right. Now that is for somebody who is not what we would call managing his emotions. But if you
Uh-huh.
have somebody that manages emotions, you would not be able to tell what he's
No,
feeling during those
not to that
times.
point.
Right.
It's as a secret.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
in the three things that you give your life up to,
Yeah.
that seems to be your expression for your love of God to do that. And what am
Right. But I'm
I keep
saying, let's say I choose to do it because it's the right thing to do. Am I going to be judged differently than somebody who, let's say they had a way of measuring the potency of a particular emotion. So there's two of us. We were both asked to convert to Christianity, and we both said no. And then they said they're going to kill us if we don't, and we still said no, and we were killed. And then they measured our emotions, with some kind of a meter, and they found that the other guy was experiencing love on a whole nother level than what I was experiencing. Is he going to get a different reward?
right, right.
Right. And also, like you see, like there's the mitzvah v'samachta bechagecha. You shall be happy or joyous on your holiday. So you'll you see all these recommendations: eat meat, drink wine, buy nice clothing. There are all these kind of activities that can help us
Demonstrate.
generate, yeah, or
Yeah.
and generate emotional experience,
Oh,
right? Like you want to feel joy, do this, do this, do this, and you're going to feel more joy. Like at a wedding, and we don't even realize it, but there's all these things built into how people do weddings that are meant to optimize joy so that the people that are there are going to have their best opportunity to be feeling joy at that time. So there's good food, there's a beautiful surroundings, there's this very subject itself is one that tends to evoke joy. But you have all these other things. What's the purpose of them? It's almost like an actor, like what we're looking for in an actor. We are doing all sorts of practice that is meant to get us to a particular an emotional state. It doesn't mean I'm naturally at that state, but there are things I can do to generate the experience of that emotional state in that moment. So when people look at me, and even if they would measure me there, they would say, "Oh yeah, he's joyous. He's feeling joy." But some of it's the wine, some of it's the food, some of it's the clothing, some of it's the dancing, some of it's the, you know, all of that is helping to bring it out. And that's apparently what is supposed to happen. But that would mean that we're not measuring a person's true um, natural emotional state or whatever.
right.
It just you're sort of working yourself to be at that place, like the actor was saying to the Dalai Lama when he was talking to him. All right, I am grateful that we had this time together, and I look forward to learning together on next Monday at this time. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and thank
Are
you.
we
And I
doing
am
tomorrow
thankful
morning?
for all our
No.
classes.
No? Okay.
No,
Okay.
I'm on my way to St. Louis.
Ah,
You
okay.
gonna have
Okay.
turkey?
Thank you, Rabbi.
I'm assuming, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming I'm having turkey.
Have
All
a
right,
great
be well.
Thanksgiving all. Thank
Okay,
you.
Yes.
you too. All
You
right,
too.
bye-bye.
Have a good one, Rabbi.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.